Okay, good morning. Can you hear me now? Excellent. All right, so welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Tahoe-Truckee and our Sunday morning live celebration service. We know that there are many paths to God, but all of them lead to oneness and love. And so we're glad that you have chosen to be here this morning, whether you're here in the sanctuary or online. So we have a lot of things going on today. And so because it's part of our fall stewardship program, and we've got lots of things to do. But we start out always by remembering that our center's purpose is love. It's not rushing. It's not all of this stuff. It is to be love and to share love. Our vision is embracing all and serving with love while awakening to the one. And so we also are looking at our vision. We go today, if we're going to read through what we have. And so there we have embracing all and serving with love while awakening to the one. And what are we passionate about? We are a loving and inclusive spiritual community that supports and inspires healing, prayer, and personal growth. And what are we best at? We practice and teach spiritual principles through Sunday services, meditation, classes, experiences in nature, and creative expression. And what is our resource engine that supports us? Divine Source sustains us through our dedicated and creative people, socially relevant principles, and a versatile sacred space with a magnificent natural setting. Lake Tahoe. All right. So next we set our intentions with our receptivity statement that you're going to see also on the screen if you would read along with me. I am here by divine appointment. Something I am about to hear applies to my life. I am open, receptive, and willing to explore the possibilities. So our musician today is Rod Loomis. And Rod is also a practitioner as well as a wonderful musician and actor and all kinds of things wonderful. And so I think you'll notice that Renaissance man type character when it comes through is when he's singing for us this morning. I know he's starting out with one of my favorites for meditation. So welcome, Rod Loomis.
Thank you, Reverend. Good morning, dear hearts. Good morning, good morning, good morning. In this very room, there's quite enough love for one like me. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for one like me. There's quite enough faith and quite enough power to chase away any gloom. For spirit, sweet spirit, is in this very room. In this very room, there's quite enough love for all of us. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for all of us. And there's quite enough faith and quite enough power to chase away any gloom. For spirit, sweet spirit, is in this very room. And in this very room, there's quite enough love for all the world. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for all the world. And there's quite enough faith and quite enough power to chase away any gloom. For Spirit, God's Spirit, is in this very room, in this very room, this very room. And so it is.
Message that it's Blue Day. So he's on his blue tie and he even put a blue banner up in the back. But I think that our practitioner, Brenda Heldoorn, has really gone above and beyond. She went and purchased a new, beautiful blue car for today that she has in the parking lot. So make sure that you see it before you leave, because it is beautiful. So, but besides the car, she is a wonderful practitioner, and so I'm very grateful to welcome her this morning for our special reading and the invocation.
Thank you, Reverend Pam. I didn't know it was Blue Day when I ordered it over a year ago, but it's amazing how things just seem to unfold like that. This morning's sacred reading is from Practicing the Presence by Joel Goldsmith. From morning until night, we are faced with appearances which would make us believe that there is power in effect. That is why, in a world so abundantly supplied with all forms of good, diamonds, pearls, silver, oil, vegetables, fish, fruit, people are still praying for supply. They believe that all of these forms of good are supply, whereas supply is within themselves. These things are effects of supply, but it is consciousness that is the source of supply. Supply is spiritual, an activity of consciousness. At first, we may agree with this only intellectually, but the day will come when it will be spiritually discerned, and then we shall see that the world of supply is within, although it appears visibly in the without. We do not see, hear, taste, touch, or smell supply, but we see the form supply takes. We become aware of the form of the various substances which our supply takes. But to realize that supply is eternal, internal, an activity of consciousness, is to make our supply infinite. Whether it be of words, money, or transportation, if we see that supply is the invisible spirit of God in us, then the effect of supply will appear in form. As rapidly as we use the forms as which supply appears, the invisible supply will again become manifest, because it is infinite. It is always omnipresent, and the supply itself, which is the Spirit of God in us, will reproduce it. No longer shall we live by bread alone, but by a consciousness of God's presence, which requires no words, but rests in God as one. So, dropping into that place, the place where the indwelling Spirit rests in my heart. I remember the source of all that is. ineffable, indescribable, infinite. And I remember my place, the oneness with the One, the mind of God in me, reminding me that I am in the mind of God. And from this place, I surrender. I surrender to the serenity of knowing my oneness with the allness of God. And I recognize the appearance of this consciousness shows up in my life as peace, as love, as joy, as lavish, opulent abundance, an abundance of sunshine and beauty and grace. And I accept these gifts of spirit, knowing that as I open my heart to receive them, I recognize with gratitude the blessings in my life. I then become a blessing to everyone I meet. I see that oneness, that wholeness, that blessing in the eyes of all beings. And I am grateful. I am open and willing. And so I know this is true for me. This is true for each one here. And so I simply release this word into the law, knowing that it always returns with yes. Yes, my beloved, my good and faithful servant, in whom I am well pleased. And with gratitude, I release this word, and together we say, and so
And
it
so it is.
And so I'd like to welcome Rod back.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm not worried about tomorrow. Today I declare freedom from yesterday and sakes of the past. Today all things are made brand new, and don't it feel good to know that all is well and unfolding as it should. Now I can change my reality by changing my mind. Perfect peace and happiness is yours and it's mine. I am loved and so are you. And don't it feel good to know that all is well? All is well. All is well. Divine Spirit is directing me right now. All is well. All is well. All is well and unfolding as it should. I am cloaked in the Spirit. I am fed by the divine. I am one with all there is. My soul is free from time. I am blessed, and so are you. And don't it feel good to know that all is well? All is well. All is well. All is and unfolding as it should. Whoo!
We think about, money, some people, they just get so tense, it's very serious and, I don't have enough and how can I do that? And then there's other people who go, well, there's plenty, it's just, the two extremes or anywhere in between, up and down, and, life happens. But let's take a spiritual tact on that. And this month we're contemplating living everyday wonder with our finances, right? So each of us has followed that, our own financial path, whatever it is. But where do we get those ideas about prosperity and abundance, right? So our parents and teachers and our life experiences, really, should we, are we taught, should we go for it and accumulate as much wealth as possible? Should we get our share before anyone else does? Because we're going to win, right? It's I win, you lose, or, maybe wealth is a source of evil. It should be avoided. There should be poverty and chastity. And, is poverty more spiritual than abundance? I don't think so. It's all God. And it's all good. And so we get to choose what our experience is of that abundant flow. We can take a little cup, little thimbleful, or we can take a nice size bowl, or we can take a barrel, or we can realize perhaps that we are swimming in the ocean. And it's everywhere. It's infinite, which is the truth of who we are, right? And when we come with the spiritual take on this, it's like all aspects of life, our beliefs and our experiences shift when we go back to the beginning of all existence, the infinite source of life, including our life and everything and everyone in our lives, including this center, right? So this week, we contemplate that infinite source and the abundant nature of the universe. Right? Now, in Exodus is one of the first stories that we have about abundance. And so, the world seems to tell us that we judge our wealth by the possessions that we've accumulated, that we've lost, or that we've never had. But in Exodus, we have some guidance on what the source of wealth is. So the Israelites had been roaming in the desert for several years after they'd left Egypt. And Moses' brother was named Aaron. So he was the first high priest of the Israelites. And so God had given Moses detailed information about how to worship God with acacia wood and certain sizes of things, how to build an altar and the rituals of atonement. And there's a lot of those chapters in Exodus are about how they were supposed to worship. And Moses instructed Aaron in the rituals, and he was carrying them out as the high priest. Well, Moses went up into the mountain and had this conversation with God, and the tablets with the 10 Commandments were being prepared. But he was there for a long time. And so the people were saying, we don't know that he's ever going to come back. He's up in the mountains. Some animal could have gotten him, Maybe he's not coming back ever. But, we want to worship. And so, Aaron, you're the high priest. Go make us a god. And so Aaron said, well, okay. So he asked them to bring all of their gold earrings, and I guess men, women, children, everybody wore gold earrings back then. So they all brought in their earrings, and he melted them all down and made this golden calf. And so when Moses came down the mountain, everybody was reveling and celebrating in front of this golden calf, dancing around and having orgies, whatever they were doing. But it was not exactly what you would call worship. But they were worshiping their symbol of wealth. All right, they had all this money, and there it was, and life is good. Well, Moses didn't take to this too well, and so he was so angry that he just threw the tablets on the ground. They were obliterated. He had to get another set later, and he, was really angry with the people. And he said, "You're worshiping this golden calf. It's an object. It's an effect. This is idolatry. You're worshiping an idol." worshiping God. God is this consciousness, the creator. We can't see God. We can see the effect, but we don't see God that way. The true source of all our abundance is the God within us and around us. The forms, they come and go. But the material world is always changing. Spirit goes on forever. And that's where we need to stay our attention. This is why Jesus told us in Matthew 6:33, "Your Father in heaven knows that all these things are also necessary for you. But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you." Right? Now the infinite divine, our source, asks us to look to the power and presence of God within us to understand our true nature. This is where the righteousness of God comes in. Jesus told his followers that if they align themselves with the qualities of God, they would prosper. And that's what righteousness means, is when you align yourself with what is righteous and true. Right? So because the infinite abundance is the nature of the divine, infinite abundance is also the nature of the divine creation, including us. We are made of divine stuff. That's pretty cool. Right? And so we align our thinking with the divine source, and we clear the path for the divine to manifest itself in us, through us, and as us. We are the vehicle for the divine to manifest. Right? Now we can choose to do our own thing, and whatever the risks that, plus or minus, but when we're aligned with God, we are part of that infinite flow that's being created in the world. So now this month, coming back to our theme of living everyday wonder finances, we're going to start at the beginning with this is the first week. We've got 5 weeks in October, so we're going through, but this week we're going to focus on beginning at the beginning. God is our infinite source, the infinite invisible, as Joel Goldsmith likes to call it. So the future weeks we'll be considering the next steps, but today we're just going to stay with God, the one. Right? It's the most important step of treatment, of prayer, is to know that God is all there is. And so, we stop looking outside of ourselves to that physical world, just like the Israelites that were worshiping the golden calf. We may have difficulty actually even seeing our abundance when we look outside ourselves for the next deal, the next job, hoping for the next opportunity, our sugar daddy that's going to come take care of us or whatever it is. And in some ways it's like we're a fish that's swimming around in the ocean looking for the water, And the fish is already in the middle of the water. In fact, it's, what percentage of us is, it's over 90% of us is water, some amazing percentage. So it's water, it's in the water, and it's already in the ocean. Our source is the divine, the infinite source of ideas and creative energy that's expressing itself through us. And to transform our financial life experiences from struggle to joy and wonder, we begin by contemplating our true nature, which is that infinite abundance of the divine. We are swimming in an infinite ocean of possibilities, right? We just need to see it and accept it, and then we can realize it in our lives. There's a fundamental spiritual principle. Abundance is the fundamental nature of the universe, right? And when we look at the floods, it's in the hurricanes, there's a lot of abundance, and that there's change, and there's sadness, and the form is always changing, but it's always there and big. And that spirit also, the E equals MC squared, everything is either in potential, kind of energy, or it's in form. And it goes back and forth both ways, right? And so this divine abundance also is not, it doesn't discriminate. It's available to anyone, anytime. We just have to call on it. It's like the light doesn't know what darkness is. Spirit has no concept of lack or limitation. It's the light. So anywhere the light goes, the darkness is gone. It's vanquished. And so we're about being the light too, right? The gifts are always given, and it's up to us to see it and receive it. In spiritual mind treatment, which we also call affirmative prayer, we begin by knowing that God is all there is, that there's nothing outside of God. And God is omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent. 3 big words. But I remember when I was first coming into the science of mind, I was in first year class, and also reading the book, This Thing Called You. Ernest Holmes loved to talk about the omniscient, the omnipresent, and the omnipotent, right? And so when I started thinking about those words, remember at this point I was making that transition from seeing God as, this old man up in heaven, to seeing God as all around and even within me. But and so these words were kind of growing my understanding of God. But I went back to when I was a child. We were always told that you can't keep a secret from God because God knows everything you're thinking. God is everywhere you are. God can see you. And it was like, as a child, they say, oh, I better be good. I can't lie. I have to obey the rules and always tell the truth, always do the right thing. That's one way that our parents and teachers keep us in line. But, and also maybe help the adults keep from doing the wrong thing. This was a God of judgment, a fear of going to hell. You better be truthful. Right? But this is the omniscient part of God, right? And so I had that planted, but this was going from, let's get rid of the judgment part and just the omniscience, right? The wisdom of it all. And then God is everywhere present, omnipresent. There's no place where God is not. And that means God is always there to be our source, to be our light on the path, to be the wisdom, to be the answers that we're seeking. Because when you look at a problem, if you have a coin and you've got the problem on one side, all you have to do is flip it over, and there's the answer, right? So God is everywhere present. And then also God is all-powerful, omnipotent. There is no power outside of God. There is only God. There is not this struggle against good and evil. It's like the light and the darkness. Where the light is, the darkness vanquishes. And what we call evil is just a misuse of the power. It's someone that doesn't know that they're misusing the power. It's like the nuclear energy. Do you use it for creating energy to light our homes, or do we and to power Brenda's new car, electric car, or is it something that we use to blow up the world? And as Putin is threatening to do. So it's how we use it, whatever way. So it's somehow, when I was contemplating God as omnipotent, omniscient, and everywhere present, thank you, it was expanding my consciousness of the power and the presence of God. Not only is God the source of all that is, God is the very life force that is within my own being and my heart of hearts. Right? As I contemplate God, my idea of how big God is keeps getting bigger and bigger. And the more I contemplate, the older I get, the bigger and bigger it gets. We have the James Webb Space Telescope is out there now. We've been getting some amazing pictures coming back from space. And it's a little bit different. They use infrared photography, which is we can't see with our eyes, but they can see that with the computer and the cameras that they have today and telescopes. And so what they do is they translate the color into something that we can visibly see. Now, right here, this little arrow that's pointing, if you could see it here, it's pointing to a star called Arundel, which means morning star. And that star, one reason that it's red is because it is 28 million miles away. Now, the universe, according to the Big Bang Theory, it's only 14 million years away. So that's 2 times 14 is 28. how could that be? Well, it turns out that Arendelle is moving in one direction and we're moving in the other. So we've been moving apart for 28 or 14 million years. And then the other thing that happens is that because time and space continuum, Einstein's theory of gravity comes in here, when it travels that far, it warps the light. It changes the light. And so it also changes the frequency that we see it in. All right? So anyway, it's the one that's pointing to, it's, if you see one of these pictures, it's the faintest one in between these two stars. It's not, the reason it's not as bright as the other two stars that it appears to be between, it's because it's that much farther away. So when you think about that, that's how big the universe is. And it's even farther. It's infinite. All right? So that's pretty big. All right? Now also, form is temporary. All right? So, when we hold on to material things as our source, as our foundation, it's like somebody who builds their house on sifting sand. Everything is going to break down eventually. They on the internet, they always have these pictures of these beautiful mansions or castles from the past or whatever, and they slowly over time will deteriorate. They'll be covered with moss, and the little insects will come in and eat the wood, and there will be an earthquake that will shatter it. I mean, all these things, form is temporary. We may think that it's permanent. Even this table, when it's vibrating, there's more space in this table than there is solid stuff. Right? So when we experience our true nature, life in all of its fullness, we have that high consciousness of God as the source, and that is what doesn't change, the unchangeable. The form changes, so we shouldn't be so attached to the form. What we want to be attached to is the infinite source that is always there, always present. We can always rely on it. We are an inseparable part of that one life that is God. And so God is love. We are love. God is peace. We are peace. God is health and wholeness and joy. And we are health and wholeness and joy. These are the true qualities of who we are in consciousness. So Joel Goldsmith says, instead of trying to hold on to this form of body, we hold on to the truth of our own identity, and this body is maintained harmoniously. Right? Now, when we become so attached to any form as a necessity in our lives, right? I can't live without this. Probably you can, but we place our dependence, our happiness, and our joy on having these things in this way at this time. Take them away, we feel forsaken. But instead, we want to ground ourselves in that eternal power and presence of God as all of life and as us. In this morning's reading, Goldsmith lists all the apparent forms of wealth that people pray for: diamonds, pearls, silver, oil, vegetables, fish. I like that one. Fruit. I must have been a vegetarian, or what do you call it when you have fish too? But these are effects of supply, and not the supply itself. Right? Soul is the true creative facility. Goldsmith says, supply is spiritual and activity of consciousness. We use the human mind as an avenue of awareness, but we recognize the soul as the creative faculty. Right? And Wayne Dyer puts it more simply: abundance is not something we acquire, it's something we tune into. Right? It's always there. We just need to see it. It's not something where we are creating whatever it is in our lives, but we choose. It's like I've talked in the past about how abundance is like this fire hose of supply that's flowing, and we just choose where to direct it. But the actual source, the actual flow, is the divine flow. And so, if there's only one power, there's no power of lack or limitation, except we create it in our minds. And what appears to be two powers, good and evil, that's a misuse of the one power, because a house divided against itself cannot stand. Right? There's only good in the absence of good. And so our thoughts, we're not creating with our thought. You know, and in science of mind, we always we send out the thought police to say it's really important what you're thinking. And, you know, and then when we have something we don't like in our life, we say, oh, you know, I have to change my thinking and change my life. Well, that's true. But we also have to be compassionate with ourselves, because it's like we're getting feedback that we went in the wrong way. You know, it's like when you're driving and you make a wrong turn, you don't end up where you want to go. So what do? You turn around and you go back the other way, right? So it's just a change of direction. And so we need to change and remember that, you know, if we're not getting that, we're not tuning into the truth of where we want to be. Now, the soul level, this is why it's so important to practice the presence and power, you know, of God in our daily spiritual practice, to stay tuned in and align with who we truly are. Goldsmith, in his book, The Infinite Way, he says, seeking guidance from God will set up a sense of separation from God. It gives a sense of God and someone needing help, direction, and wisdom. Actually, you need to let God be your life. And then it lives, acts, performs, and is your very being. Now, this is a slight nuance that's really important. So if we have the God that's out there, and we have to always be asking, pleading with God for whatever it is that we need, then we have created that illusion of separation. And so God is within us, right? And so we want to, when we practice the presence, we are coming to know, not just in our mind, but in our soul, in our heart of hearts, at the very core of our being, that God is all there is. And that we are whole part and parcel God, right? And so we are looking to that God within us, to the essence of who we are, for that divine guidance, right? And so it's, you know, it's like that coin. You know, what side are you looking at, the problem or the answer? There's only one power in the universe, whether we call it God or Buddha, Krishna, Jehovah, Allah, the Christ consciousness, universal mind, the infinite invisible, or the I am that I am, right? In Deuteronomy, it says, the Lord our God is one Lord, and thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might, right? Now, Goldsmith explains this in Practicing the Presence. He says, to practice this principle, hour after hour, day in and day out for 1 month or 2 months, holding to God as the law of our being. God is our source of our good. God is the activity of our day, changes our entire experience. At first, this is all in the realm of mind, in our heads, right? But by constant practice, it leaves the realm of mind and it comes down into the heart, into our awareness, into the consciousness, and then it takes over and lives our experiences. It lives through us and as us, right? We realize who we really are. In November, we're going to be having a heart math session, and that's about aligning your head and your heart, and it's very powerful to come and bring them into coherence and live from that place. But in Science of Mind, we say that we become what we think about. And so if we think about all the things that are holding us back, you know, we just, you know, something happens and we get so torqued about it that we just can't think about anything else all day. We've wasted all of that time. In fact, we're manifesting more of what it is that we didn't like. And so we have to, you know, all that resistance, and we get more obstacles to manifest. But if we contemplate the power and the presence of God, if we contemplate the light as all there is, as the one and only power and the truth of who we are, then it's like we're vanquishing the darkness. We're turning on the lights, not dimly, but at maximum brightness, you know? It's like the sun, stepping out into the sunlight, you know, on those days, you know, it just warms your face, and, you know, we put sunglasses on because it's too much. But that's who we are, that true light. And it's like if stepping out of Plato's cave, if you know that story. I'm not going to go, we don't have time to go to the whole story, but, you know, once you've come out into the light, You thought this was normal to be in the darkness, but when you come out into the light, you can't go back. You realize that, oh, this is the truth. This is what life is really like. And so you know that the life of God and all of its glory is the truth of who we are. So we're lifted out of our conditioned habitual beliefs and lack, limitation and struggle into that truth of flow, ease, grace, and plenty. It's not a struggle. It's not a battle between good and evil, not arguing or fighting with ourselves or the world or what have you. It's simply focusing on the light and letting divine grace provide everything that we need to express the magnificence of the divine, expressing itself as us. Eric Butterworth, in his book Spiritual Economics, says, when we establish ourselves in the consciousness of God, the whole universe moves to flow into us with its abundance of life and substance. God is amazing. Wondrous. And when at our retreat last week, everyone said, Penny, you're amazing. Yes, I am. Thank you. Yeah. And Patricia, you're amazing. And Bob. And everyone here, you are amazing. All right. And so this is the truth. And Johann Sebastian Bach, Handel's the one that wrote it, the Messiah. There's a reason that this choral piece is loved so much, right? Whenever we hear it or sing it or play the music, we just can't help but be inspired. It is just an amazing piece, and I'm sure that it was written from an altered state of mind of just being in that consciousness of God, and so people have to stand up because the joy they can't contain it any longer, and they want to sing, and they sense that power and presence in the music and in the room and in their own hearts, and we're immersed in that infinite abundance of the divine, swimming in the infinite ocean, right? So we're letting go and letting the divine flow in us and through us and as us, the infinite invisible express itself in all of its glory and magnificence, the abundance of love, peace, and joy, and all good things. This is our inheritance. This is the true nature of who we are and all of the universe, right? And so as the rest of October unfolds, we're going to be exploring the divine wealth of ideas and infinite potential possibilities. But we start with this reliable and abundant source of our unlimited supply, the divine, the infinite invisible. And so how we allow Spirit to flow and manifest that natural infinite abundance in our lives, we'll be spending some more time on that in the future weeks. But today, remember, God is all there is. Let's take that to prayer. So as we go within to our heart of hearts, to that place at the very center of our being, where that flame of Spirit burns gently, calmly, always there, waiting for us. And so we remember that it is the reminder that God is all there is. That this spiritual consciousness, this Christ consciousness, as we focus on that flame and let go of everything else, we remember that God is our source of us and of everything in the world, and it's all good. And so as we relax in this knowingness, in the omniscient and omnipotent and omnipresent part of God, character of God, we have nothing to fear. We lack for nothing. There are infinite ideas that know how to express what is next for us and the unfoldment of our lives, and the unfoldment of the infinite invisible into form. This is the truth of who we are. This is the truth of the nature of the universe and of our lives. We are the light coming into form, And so we let go and let God be that truth of our being. Everywhere we turn, where there has been darkness, where there has been holding back, where there seemed to have been burdens, that life just dissolves it and it is gone. And instead, there is this feeling of joy and abundance and peace and love that fills our lives in every wonderful way. We lack for nothing. We want for nothing. Just as the lilies in the field have been clothed, we are clothed and supported and loved. And so we let go of wanting to direct God into a little corner and saying, I only want this much. I only want it in this way. And we let go and let God bring something even greater into our awareness. And we are guided to know exactly what is ours to do and what is not ours to do. And all of the other people and the funding and the ideas and the time, whatever it is that needs to be to bring it into being our greater next to be, is unfolding right here and right now. And so we know this is the truth for ourselves, for our families, for our loved ones, whether they are here near us or someplace far away. And we know that it is for all the people on the East Coast that are dealing with the hurricane, or in Mexico as one approaches there, the Japan with their earthquake, wherever these things are going on, there is the power and presence of God to guide and protect and love. Perhaps some people in our family are dealing with mental health issues or their own financial abundance. And we calmly see God in the midst of them. We see that light guiding them with love and release them to God's loving arms. And it is good. And we know that the power, the infinite power for good in the universe is for us. It is a power for good, and we can use it. And we let it be our life. We let it express itself in us, through us, and as us. And we see it everywhere. It's like the flowers are popping up everywhere in the spring. For it is always there, ready to burst forth. And for this we are grateful, to know that we're letting go of the world of effects and coming to this reliable, always there source within us. We are grounded, we are strong, we are happy, we are healthy, we prosper, because this is our true nature. Thank you, Father, Mother, God. And we release these words knowing that it is already done and even greater, as together we say,
and so it is.
So I'd like to invite Rod back for one more song. All right.
For Let's go swimming in the infinite ocean.
Now, all right. Well, this is one of the best months of the year for us because we're beginning our 2023 partnership campaign. And one of the best parts of that campaign is when we get to hear testimonials from people in our congregation about why CSL Tahoe-Truckee is an important part of their lives. And so our testimonial today is from Bob McCormick, who has been a part of our center for more than 20 years. So it's amazing. And he's going to be traveling to, I think, up to Oregon to see the grandchildren and his sons, which are the love of his family, yeah. And so, and they're yes, the whole family. But Bob is one of those people that he has blessed many people in his life, and so it's a pleasure to welcome Bob McCormick.
I had to laugh. Rod reminded me a little bit of a happy Rudy Giuliani, except the good side. I was a recovering Catholic for many years. I'm grateful to have been raised a Catholic because it taught you about giving back and all that. But some of the stuff they taught you, I just couldn't handle anymore after I was about 18. So I wandered in the desert, in a sense, but with an inner guide for many years till I just stumbled on the Principles of Science of Mind. When I read them, I immediately knew that's what I believed. So it's made a huge difference in my life. It gives you a system for understanding how the world works. It's really not that difficult. There's universal laws, and you need to learn the laws, and then you need to apply them, cause and effect. You can see the effects of electricity and gravity, but that doesn't mean that these other laws, whether you believe in it or not, don't exist. And so once you accept the fact that they're affecting your life and you learn how to use them and apply them, there's just rules to follow. I mean, I think that the thing that's, another thing about Science of Mind is it kind of opens you up to other paths of wisdom. I mean, Wayne Dyer has been a huge influence on my life. The Four Agreements has been, the Prayer of Jabez has been. There's so many little things we learn. And if you just remember them, one of the principles says those who live with God and speak, that they can be speakers of truth if you try to concentrate on being aware of God all the time. And that's mostly what my practice is. I have a reputation for being prosperous with my friends, and they all say, "Oh, you're so lucky, you believe all that because you have money." And it's like, no, I have money because I believe all that. You learn that it's all there. The abundance around us is so incredibly evident that you have to recognize it, and you have to learn to turn illusion away and look at the truth of things. The Tao reflects all things. There's always two sides to everything. And so I have learned through Science of Mind that there are no problems. That's why, there's opportunities to observe something going on and learn and grow and take right action. And so when they say, "You're so lucky you have a place in Mexico," I say, it's not luck. Luck is building a ground so you have the freedom to act when you recognize an opportunity and you decide, "I'm going to take right action and do that." You can do pretty much anything you want in this world if you believe in yourself. I'm always encouraged by Nelson Mandela, who spent, decades in solitary confinement, and basically what he told the world was, "You are master of your universe, you're captain of your ship." And so it's all about choice. And so I consciously try to choose every day to look at the bright side of things, to understand that you set things in motion. I think one of the most valuable things you learn in Science of Mind is so different than the way we grew up learning how to pray to God on our knees as supplicants and always being, when you're a little kid Catholic, you're not only afraid of God, you're afraid of Sister Mary Tarantula with a ruler, hitting you to make you stop being left-handed. Stuff like that just kind of turned me away from Catholicism. But you do have that choice. You have the choice to always ask God for guidance, divinely guided, guarded, protected. Every time something good happens to me, I realize I'm not in charge. I'm trying to do what I can to help other people because I've adopted the principle of the more you share, the more you have. And the Bible says, you reap 10 times what you sow, and it's so true. We have so much abundance. It's just kind of crazy, It really, it's all there for us. And if you use it, but you don't get into this thing that Pam alluded to and talked about earlier about the competition. I was a competitive businessman in my career, but I realized that I really didn't have to take anything away from anybody else to have all I could handle. There was always plenty. This thing about do you believe in a cup half full or a cup half empty? And long ago I decided, they're really the same amount of volume. Just try to enjoy the contents. Focus on that. It's like when you hear about what's more important, the journey or the destination? Well, in fact, it's the company. You're going to end up where you're going to end up, and God isn't going to take you till He's done with you. So live your life fully and try to help other people. Try to practice the 4 agreements. To me, make more sense than the 10 commandments. I love the talk about Moses getting the tablets on the mountain and everything, and especially the part about when he got asked, he knew he had to go back down to quell the riots and the idolatry. He said, well, who should I say I've been hanging out with here all this time? And this burning bush said, I am that I am. And so when you go to the 4 agreements about the word being impeccable with your word, and you look at the 3rd commandment about don't use the name of the Lord thy God in vain, it's not about not saying God damn it or not keeping your word for appointments. It's about never using the words I am followed by a negative declaration, because then you're using the name of the Lord thy God in vain. That's the name of the Lord, I am. And we learned this meditation at Ananda this weekend about saying hong sa when you meditate. Keeps your mind kind of clear, and it's basically I am He, right? It's the same thing. And I've gotten back into a meditation practice, which has been very relaxing. I'm generally pretty relaxed. Things happen, but you have so much control in what's going on in your life. It's just so wonderful to be involved in this practice and reading about all these wisdom masters that share with us. It's all accessible to us. Just keep reading and studying, and try to be interesting. Try to learn all this stuff so you can spread it around. I have my own individual practitioner practice in Mexico, where I do something called Watsu, and that's when I feel closest to God, when I've got somebody in my arms and I'm doing a dance with them, and my head explodes in color sometimes. It's amazing. God actually looks like a plaid grid that vibrates. If you want to have any idea what it looks like, that's what happens. It's just this thing that vibrates and is beautiful, and it's all energy. This is all God. It's real easy to understand that when you've experienced something transformative. Like I had an out-of-body experience once because of my beliefs. It was pretty amazing. I'll never forget it. And God's got a sense of humor. He gives you those little transcendent moments just enough so that you're always thinking, well, why can't I stay like that all the time? Gee, I want to do that. But it's possible. So it keeps you going. And it's wonderful to just sit with yourself. And, where I live down in Mexico, I think that's the attraction there. I've spent a lot of time by myself, and I'm with the ocean splashing up against my wall. And sometimes I'm sitting there. There's a cyclone coming that way right now, and I'm wondering what's going to happen, but I'm sure it'll all be fine. But when the waves are splashing, sometimes I'm sitting in the middle of my deck and there's waves on either side of me, and I'm just like in the middle of all this storming going on, birds swirling around. It's like, why don't I do this all the time? Why do I go out and dance and eat and smoke dope and all the other stuff that I do with my friends? It's like the best time I ever have is when I'm all by myself with God, right there, looking at the ocean and thinking about all these universal themes of how you can share with other people and how you can have whatever you want in life if you just apply yourself. Don't let other people tell you what to do. Don't buy into a bunch of nonsense. Focus on what's real and what's important, which is love, charity, peace, tranquility. Always remark. Wayne Dyer said that best to me. He said, you think whatever you think about most is what shows up in your life. So be real careful what you let yourself think about. Don't dwell on all that negative stuff. So anyway, Science of Mind has been, changing my thinking, changing my life. It's made all the difference. I'm going to continue doing it. I'll always be grateful to the teaching. I'll always, the thing about, we believe that the kingdom of God is within man, and we experience it to the degree that we're conscious of that. is a very handy thing for me when people say, "Oh, you're so lucky here," and it's like, we're all having the same adventure. Just some of us are more aware of what's causing it. That's what you just need to do to get to, and you'll appreciate your life more, and it'll all be a lot easier for you. So just keep spreading that word and being an example to other people. And even if you're not a practitioner talking to a whole church load of people all the time, you can be a practitioner by just individual practice with one at a time. Just keep spreading the word. There's a woman who doesn't have a clue about a lot of this stuff, but she's reading the 4 agreements at my urging, and and once she's finished another agreement, we get together and talk about it. And that's you can do that stuff all the time. Help your friends, help reach out to people who need a friend, and just be there for the rest of the people that you encounter. Make yourself a person that everybody says, "I'm glad I talked to him. I'm glad I met that guy." It's not that hard. Just can't think of anything else. Just smile at him. Say something nice, but practice love, and love will find you. So thank you very much for listening. Appreciate it.
Yeah, he walks his talk, right? Oh, so now we have our treasurer of the board, Brenda Heldoorn, is going to give us a kickoff for our pledge program.
So you'll be reminded that usually we do our stewardship program in the month of November. This year we're starting in October because this is the season of gratitude, the whole season. So we have the new pledge cards prepared for you, and I am so grateful for all of you and for your presence here in our community. So we'll make these available, and we would like to have them back just as soon as possible. So putting on my treasurer hat now, it's very helpful when we come together to prepare the budget for next year, that we know what the commitment from our community will be. It allows us to not it allows us to be very good stewards of our community, so that we make plans and we develop programs based on what we know the participation from the community will be. So thank you very much, everyone. Oh, do we have a theme? We do have. I was coming to that. Our theme this year for our stewardship program is Gather in the Good. So it brings to mind thoughts of harvesting, and reaping what we have sown all this year, and all of the experiences that we have had as a community. So for this month, we are gathering in the good. And so I welcome all of these pledges and commitments to our community. It's very helpful. I'm grateful in advance. And if you have any specific questions, please come up and we'll talk about that. More will be revealed. We have a whole 5 weeks, so each week we'll be speaking a little bit more at length about what will be happening for our stewardship program this year. But I do know that it ends with the big party on October 30th. So thank you, Reverend Pam. Yes.
So, and there's also our schedule that's up here on the calendar on the screen. And so today the color is blue, and swimming in the infinite flow. So next week the color is white. So we're asking everyone to wear white in the audience, or even if you're online, you can all be white. And it's well, but white is the source of all. Let it flow. It comes from God, and we're letting it go out. So that's the what we're talking about. And October next week is. Oh, you can leave that up, please. So we've got the green the next week. Then playing with money, and then the fourth week, October 23rd, Reverend Dr. Lloyd Tupper is going to be here, and he and I will be sharing the pulpit. And there's some other festivities. I think we're having going to Garwood's afterwards with an unhosted lunch, which should be fun. And then on the 30th, we have the big party. So plan to wear orange or maybe a costume. You know, the next day is Halloween. And we're planning it to be something fun, both for adults and for children. So this will bring the whole community together. And let's have some fun and celebrate the harvest, the good harvest. So, we have our harvest for today, which is our prosperity time. And we know that, remember that God is our infinite source for our center in each of us. And your donations to the center support our vision of embracing all and serving with love while awakening to the one. And we want to provide opportunities for everyone to connect with Spirit and remember who they are, and to, as Bob was speaking, take these principles and put them into practice, right? So hold your offering over your heart and repeat our affirmation with me. I gratefully and joyfully share my offering, which flows from God, my infinite source. My gift blesses this center and all who are guided, healed, and empowered by its activities. All I share with life returns to me, blessed and multiplied.
So blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I am. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
Gifts and offerings, these tithes that have been shared with our center, for we know that this is the infinite flow of God, right here and right now. And so it blesses us, it blesses our spiritual community, it blesses the world. Thank you, Father, Mother, God. And so it is. Okay. So I want to welcome our guests. We have one guest here with us this morning, Dan. Ben. Oh, Ben. Why don't you get... All right. Ben, with a B as in boy. Okay, B with a B. Okay, good. Yeah, so Ben is, and so Ben is visiting here from Unity in Walnut Creek, which is where Diana hails from before she moved up here. So old friends meeting together. So welcome. Thank you for being here. Also, I want to. We have some thank yous this morning. So we have our weekend retreat. The Serenity of Surrender retreat was last week, and I think it was a fantastic time, I know, for me, and I think for everyone. That was, the gift that of the facilitators, Eugene Holden and Gary Lynn Floyd. It was pretty amazing for me, and everything that I had hoped and way more. So that was good. But save the date for next year. So September 8th through the 10th is going to be next year's retreat at Ananda, and the facilitators will be Melissa and Z, and we're going to team up with several other centers, so we will sell out, and so you'll have to register early, and it'll be a fabulous week, so plan for that. Adopt a Highway yesterday was our last one for the year before the snows hit, and so we had, I want to thank everyone that was there. I think it was Penny and Michael Sunholm, Nancy was there, and Bob McCormick was there, and so we had a small crowd. We had a change in. Oh, okay. So, well, that's good. That's good. You were there. You were there, and I know some other people had other things that they had scheduled, but we were there, and that's something that makes a difference in our community. And I especially want to thank Nancy O'Neill for do everything that she did this year to organizing it. It was a lot of work, working with Caltrans and a lot of new stuff, all that paperwork, and she took care of it beautifully. So, Zoom hosting, Diane Misets is the Zoom host, and Michael's assisting on camera. Our practitioner today, Brenda Heldoorn. Hospitality is Penny Scholler. I know she's got some goodies out there planned for us. Thank you, Bob, for your testimonial. And right after service, we'll have our hospitality time if you're here in the hospitality room, or if you're online, stay. And I think I've been seeing people chatting during the service a little bit, so you can continue to chat in person or with text. Enjoy. Now, next week, it's the second week in our service, in our tithe part, and October 9th in person and on Zoom, it's Let It Flow. Colina Kinkel will be providing the music. She'll be here live, and Nancy O'Neill will be our practitioner. You can always check out on our website all of this information. Our video recordings are there. Quickly going through it, the winter warmth and wellness. We're collecting all of these items for people in our community that might need it this month, and there's a big handout the first weekend in November. There's a flyer out here of the things that they're looking for, so you can know what to look for, or you can also donate checks. So are we having our hike today? Are we having our hike today? Is anybody planning to go on the hike that's here? I don't think so. The reason I ask is there's an e-bike group. So the hike was supposed to go to Blackwood Canyon, and on Tuesday the e-bike group is going to Blackwood Canyon again. So I think everyone is going to be on the bicycle and have the long view as opposed to the slower view. So if you want to see Blackwood Canyon, all the fall colors, come on your e-bike on Tuesday morning, which is there. Now, Wisdom Circle, they've decided that it's too far to drive from Truckee. They commuted on the day when they had a big accident and a big side detour, but anyway, they're going to be meeting in homes in Truckee. So we'll try and get the phone number if you want to join them. They're still open to having new people. And the Beyond Limits class has also been postponed. We're going to have it in January, or I think probably in March is my guess. And then, but the Discovery class is on. It's going to be one night, Monday night, the 24th, and it's 3-hour session, 6 to 9. So if you would like to become a member in our center, that would be the time to come join us. And you don't have to join, but it's, to find out what it is, what Science of Mind is, if it's new to you, and what it means to be a part of our center. The Red Tent group is meeting again at the Wellness Center, and it's on October 26th is the next one. A women's potluck dinner, and really time to share and be in that sacred circle for women. And the next big event is on Heart Math. So Jim Eaglesmith on November 13th, and we'll be bringing in several different setups. So everybody that's here will have a chance to try out the equipment and see, how easy can I bring my head and heart into coherence, and how can that help me in my practice, spiritual practice. So plan to come that day, and it's a love offering, so everyone is invited. Excuse me. And then we have our wonderful online offerings that are drop-in every week. So we have the Tai Chi class with Chris Worcester on Thursday afternoons, and then later followed by the meditation, energization and meditation with Mary McEnany and the Ananda style, and Penny assists on that. Friday night is A Course of Love, and if you want to dive deep and go through that book and find all of its wisdom and really talk about it, that's a small sacred circle that meets and talks, and these are all drop-in, all love offering basis. So please join. Okay, now it's time for our children's affirmation. So all of our wonderful children, hold them in their mind and repeat with me. We see you, we hear you, we love you, you are a gift from God, and so it is. All right. And then, so now and last but not least is our practitioners. If you need prayer, please see one of our practitioners. Our practitioner of the day was Brenda Heldoorn. She's be happy to meet with you. Nancy O'Neill is here. Michael Brandman is here in the back. Carol Dalbana is online, and I am also a practitioner, so we love to pray. You'll make our day. And or you can also make an appointment for a longer session, or just put a prayer request in the prayer box. Any of those paths work. Or online, too. Okay, we're going to gather in a circle for our closing song, followed by our affirmation. Oh, wait, one more. All right.
You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are and all you do is a blessing to the world. You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are and all you do is a blessing to the world.
All right. All right. Now, affirmation. Read along with me. I am always swimming in an ocean of infinite abundance. And so it is. Thank you.